Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to another evening of magic and wonder. I'm so glad you're here. Tonight, we're going on a very special journey together. We're stepping into a world where the impossible becomes possible, where ordinary train platforms hide extraordinary secrets, and where castles full of candlelight and ancient magic wait to become home. This is the story of your very first day at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. A day filled with nervous excitement, new friendships, and perhaps just a small nighttime adventure that you definitely weren't planning on. So, settle in now, get comfortable, and let the world around you fade into something softer, something warmer. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. Tonight, you're 11 years old again, standing on the edge of the most magical adventure of your life. Let's begin. The morning air at King's Cross Station tastes like diesel and possibility, sharp and metallic on your tongue as you push the trolley loaded with your trunk through the bustling crowd. Your heart hammers against your ribs in a rhythm that matches the clicking of wheels on tile, and you can't quite decide if the fluttering in your stomach is excitement or terror, or some dizzying combination of both. The letter, that beautiful letter, with its emerald green ink and heavy parchment, sits folded carefully in your jacket pocket, pressed close to your heart like a talisman. You've read it so many times the creases have gone soft, but you still can't quite believe it's real. Your mom walks beside you, one hand resting on your shoulder in a way that's both comforting and grounding, her thumb rubbing small circles through the fabric of your new robes. She's been crying on and off since this morning, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue that's now completely shredded in her coat pocket. And every few minutes she reaches out to adjust your collar or smooth down your hair, even though it doesn't need adjusting. Your dad pushes from behind, making jokes to cover the thickness in his voice. Something about platform numbers and whether this whole thing might be an elaborate prank by your uncle, who's always had a strange sense of humor. Quinn, your younger sibling, bounces along beside the trolley with barely contained energy, 8 years old and absolutely vibrant with jealousy and awe in equal measure. They keep reaching out to touch your trunk, to run their fingers over the brass corners and the leather straps, like they're trying to absorb some of the magic through osmosis. Every few steps they tug on your sleeve and whisper another question. Have you packed the books? Did you remember the owl treats? Are you really sure you'll write every single week about everything? The station swirls around you in a chaos of sound and movement. Families saying goodbye, travelers rushing for trains, announcements echoing from speakers mounted high on the walls. But you're searching, eyes scanning the platforms, looking for something that shouldn't exist. Platform 9 3/4. The letter said it clearly, but standing here now, among the very solid, very numbered platforms, it seems impossible. Platform 9, Platform 10, solid brick barrier between them. Nothing magical, nothing hidden, just brick and mortar and the faint smell of old stone. Then you see them. A family walks purposefully toward the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. A woman with wild auburn hair and flowing robes that shimmer slightly in the fluorescent light. 2 children trailing behind her, one pulling a trunk identical to yours. They're not rushing, not panicking. They look casual, comfortable, like they've done this 1,000 times before. The mother says something to the older child, gestures toward the barrier, and then, without breaking stride, without even pausing, she walks directly at the solid brick wall. Your breath catches in your throat. You're sure she's going to crash, sure someone should shout a warning, but instead, she simply, impossibly, melts through the barrier like it's made of smoke. Gone. Vanished. The children follow one after another, trolleys and trunks and all, disappearing into solid stone, as though it's the most natural thing in the world. Your mom's hand tightens on your shoulder. She saw it too. Your dad has gone very quiet. Even Quinn has stopped bouncing, standing perfectly still with their mouth hanging open in a way that would normally make you laugh. "Well," your dad says after a long moment, his voice pitched higher than usual, "I suppose that answers that question." You approach the barrier slowly, your trainers squeaking slightly on the polished floor. Up close, the brick looks utterly solid, cool and rough when you reach out to touch it. There's mortar between the bricks, shadows in the crevices, absolutely nothing to suggest it's anything other than what it appears to be. But you saw them. You saw them walk through. Your mom crouches down beside you, her hands on your shoulders, turning you to face her. Her eyes are swimming with tears again, but she's smiling through them, that wobbly, proud smile that makes your own throat feel tight. "You remember what I always tell you," she says softly, just for you, her voice barely audible above the station noise. "Courage isn't not being afraid," you whisper back, the familiar words feeling different now, heavier with meaning. "It's doing it anyway." She pulls you into a hug that squeezes all the air from your lungs, fierce and warm and smelling like her perfume and the lavender soap she uses. Over her shoulder, you see your dad, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand, pretending he's just got something in them. He pulls you into a hug next, and his voice cracks when he speaks, just slightly, just enough that you notice. "Make us proud, kid," he says into your hair. "Not that you need to, mind, already are." Quinn crashes into both of you, arms wrapping around your waist, face pressed into your side. "You have to write about everything," they demand, voice muffled. "Everything, especially if you see a dragon. Promise. You promise. You promise to write every week, to tell them about classes and spells and the castle. You promise to be careful, to study hard, to remember to eat vegetables even when there's dessert available." Your mom presses a small package into your pocket, your favorite sweets from the shop near home, and tells you to save them for when you're feeling homesick. The goodbye stretches and stretches, none of you wanting to let go, but the clock on the wall reads 10:30, and the train leaves at 11, and you still have to find this impossible platform. So you hug one more time, fierce and quick, and then you turn toward the barrier before you can lose your nerve. "Just walk at it," your dad says, trying to sound confident. "Don't stop, don't think, just go." You take a breath. 2, 3. Your hands tighten on the trolley handle, knuckles going white, and then you're moving, walking faster and faster toward the solid brick wall, every instinct screaming at you to stop, to swerve, to not be ridiculous because brick is brick and this is impossible and you're gonna crash, and then the world tilts sideways. There's no impact, no pain, just a strange rushing sensation, like passing through a waterfall made of air and light and something that tingles across your skin like static electricity. The noise of King's Cross drops away, muffled suddenly as though someone's pressed cotton wool into your ears, and for one dizzying moment, you're nowhere, suspended in a space between spaces. And then you're through. Platform 9 3/4 spreads out before you in a riot of color and sound and impossible, wonderful chaos. The scarlet Hogwarts Express gleams in the hazy morning light, its brass fittings polished to mirror brightness. steam billowing from its chimney in great white clouds that smell like coal smoke and something sweeter, almost like cinnamon. The platform is packed with families, students, trunks, cages filled with owls and cats, and even a few toads. Everywhere you look, there are robes in deep jewel tones, pointed hats, wands being waved carelessly in conversation. A group of older students near the engine are laughing at something, and one of them has hair that's changing colors, shifting from purple to blue to green as you watch. It's real. All of it. The magic, the letter, the castle waiting somewhere north of here. It's all impossibly, wonderfully, terrifyingly real. You stand there for a moment, just breathing it in, this first real taste of the world you're about to enter. The world where you belong, where you've always belonged, even though you didn't know it existed until a few months ago. Behind you, you hear the muffled sound of your family calling through the barrier, their voices distant and dreamlike. You turn back, lean close to the invisible divide, and wave even though you can't see them. "I love you," you call, not sure if they can hear you. "I'll write as soon as I get there." You think you hear your mom's voice, faint and wavering, saying she loves you too. And then you turn back to the train, to the platform, to your future, and you start walking. The noise grows as you move deeper into the crowd. Parents are giving last-minute instructions, smoothing robes, fixing hair, pressing coins and sweets into hands. Owls are hooting, cats are meowing. Somewhere, someone's toad has escaped, and there's a general cry of alarm as students dive to try to catch it. You catch glimpses of emotional goodbyes, mothers crying, fathers trying to be stoic, younger siblings looking on with envy, just like Quinn. You find a spot near one of the carriages and turn back one last time. You can't see your family through the barrier, but you know they're there, pressed close to the brick on the other side, waiting to wave as the train pulls away. The thought makes your throat tight, makes your eyes sting, but there's excitement fizzing beneath the sadness, bubbling up irrepressibly. You're going to Hogwarts. You're actually, really, truly going to Hogwarts. A whistle blows, sharp and commanding. All along the platform, families are moving toward the train for final goodbyes. You grab your trunk, though it's awkward and heavy, and start dragging it toward the nearest door. An older student, already in his robes with a silver badge pinned to his chest, helps you lift it up the steps and into the narrow corridor. "First year?" he asks with a kind smile, and when you nod, he gestures down the corridor. "Find an empty compartment quick. They fill up fast. Good luck." The corridor is narrow and crowded, students pushing past each other in both directions, trunks bumping against walls, owls hooting their displeasure at being jostled. You drag your trunk behind you, and inside its cage, your owl Pepper ruffles her tawny feathers and makes a sound that's definitely reproachful. "Sorry," you mutter to her. "Sorry, I know, this is chaos." You peer into compartment after compartment. Most are already full. Groups of students who clearly know each other, older years who look intimidating in their casual competence. You're starting to panic, wondering if you'll have to stand in the corridor for the entire journey, when you spot one that's occupied by only a single person. They're sitting by the window, surrounded by what appears to be hundreds of small, colorful cards spread across both seats, organized into careful piles. Dark skin, braided hair woven through with tiny silver charms that catch the light, round glasses perched on their nose. They're muttering to themselves, moving cards from one pile to another with intense concentration. You knock softly on the glass door, even though it's already open. They look up, startled, and you see their eyes are a warm brown that immediately crinkles with friendliness. You say, suddenly feeling awkward. Is this seat taken? Their face lights up. Please, they say, gesturing enthusiastically at the empty space, sweeping some of the cards aside to make room. I've been organizing these by rarity, and I really need someone to appreciate what I've accomplished here. It's been a whole hour, and nobody's even noticed I got a Circe card, which is incredibly rare. You haul your trunk in with their help, shoving it onto the overhead rack, where it sits at a precarious angle. Pepper's cage goes on the seat beside you, and she settles down with a soft hoot, ruffling her feathers one more time before tucking her head under her wing. You collapse onto the bench seat, already exhausted, and the train hasn't even moved yet. I'm Rowan, they say, already pulling one of the cards from the pile to show you. Rowan, Blackwood. This is my first year. Well, obviously, I'm 11, so it would be my first year. Are you first year too? You must be. You've got that look. I've been reading about Hogwarts literally my entire life, and I still have that look. Apparently, my mom said so this morning. The card they're showing you has a moving picture of a stern-looking witch in ancient Greek robes. You watch in fascination as she moves, turning pages in a tiny book, occasionally looking up at you with an imperious expression. That's incredible, you breathe, and you mean it. You've seen the cards in books, in the photos your letter came with, but seeing one in person, seeing the actual magic of it, is entirely different. Rowan beams. Right? I've been collecting them for years, but I bought about 20 more chocolate frogs at the platform shop this morning because I just couldn't help myself. I'm trying to get the complete set, but I'm still missing about 30. Do you collect them? You shake your head, a bit embarrassed. I'm Muggle-born, you admit. I didn't even know magic was real until my letter came. I don't really know anything about, well, any of this. If anything, Rowan's eyes light up even more. Oh, that's brilliant, they say, with such genuine enthusiasm it makes you blink. I can explain everything. I love explaining things. My parents say I never shut up about magical history, and they're probably right. Where should I start? The castle's history? The house system? Quidditch? Oh, Quidditch is this sport played on broomsticks. It's absolutely mental, but really fun to watch. Before you can answer, the train whistle blows again, long and loud. There's a lurch, a grinding of wheels on tracks, and then smooth movement as the Hogwarts Express begins to pull away from the platform. You press your face to the window, looking back at the platform that's now sliding past, and you can just barely make out shapes pressed against the barrier, hands waving. You wave back frantically, pressing your palm to the cool glass until the platform curves away behind you and there's only the brick walls of the tunnel. And then, suddenly, bright daylight and the buildings of London spreading out below. You're leaving. You're really leaving. Everything familiar is falling away behind you, and ahead is nothing but unknown. The thought should be terrifying, but instead, sitting in this compartment with Rowan still chattering happily about the history of the castle's construction and how many students typically attend, you feel something else entirely. You feel like you're going home. The train settles into a steady rhythm, wheels clicking over tracks, the world outside the window beginning to shift from city to suburbs to eventually, you assume, countryside. Rowan is showing you their collection, explaining the significance of different wizards and witches, pointing out which cards are common and which are rare when there's a tentative knock on the compartment door. A girl stands in the corridor, red curly hair escaping from a messy bun in every direction, freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks. Her robes already somehow rumpled, despite the journey barely having started. Her eyes are bright blue and nervous, darting between you and Rowan. "Sorry to bother," she says, voice soft, "but everywhere else is full. Could I possibly—" "Of course," you say immediately, before she can even finish. You move Pepper's cage to make more room, and the girl's whole face transforms with relief. "Oh, thank you," she says, dragging a trunk that's covered in stickers of various magical creatures. "I was worried I'd have to sit in the corridor the whole way. I'm Maple Fernsby." She settles onto the seat across from you and Rowan, and immediately begins pulling things from what appears to be a bottomless bag. Chocolate frogs, Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, pumpkin pasties still warm from the platform vendors, cauldron cakes wrapped in shiny paper, licorice wands that actually seem to be sparking slightly at the tips. The pile of sweets grows and grows until it's covering most of the seat beside her. "My mom always worries I won't eat enough," Maple says, with a slightly embarrassed laugh. "She's a magi-zoologist, travels all over, and she's always going on about how you need energy for magic. So she might have gone a bit overboard with the snacks. Please help yourselves. There's absolutely no way I can eat all this." Rowan reaches for a chocolate frog with reverent care. "I was planning to buy more from the trolley when it comes by, but this is brilliant. Thank you." You take a pumpkin pasty, even though you're not really hungry, just because it feels like the right thing to do, like accepting the offer cements this forming friendship. The pastry is warm and flaky, filled with spiced pumpkin that tastes like autumn and comfort food. It's delicious. For a while, you all just sit, eating and talking and watching the world slide by outside the window. London has fallen away completely now, replaced by rolling green hills, small villages, patches of forest. The countryside is beautiful in the hazy morning light, soft and pastoral, and you find yourself pressing close to the window to take it all in. Rowan is explaining the house system now, how there are 4 houses and you'll be sorted tonight, and the hat will decide based on your qualities and your values. "I'm hoping for Ravenclaw," they say, a bit wistfully. "My whole family's been Ravenclaw for generations, but honestly, I'd be happy anywhere." "Well, maybe not Slytherin, but that's just because they've got dungeons for a common room, and I really don't like being underground." "My family's all Hufflepuff," Maple offers, nibbling on a cauldron cake. "Going back forever, basically. My great-great-great-grandmother was actually sorted by the founders themselves. That's how far back it goes. So, I'll probably end up there too. They're meant to be loyal and kind and good at finding things, which suits me fine." They both look at you expectantly. You shift uncomfortably. "I don't really know enough to have a preference," you admit. "I mean, I've read the books that came with my letter. But it's different actually being here, isn't it? I don't know where I'd fit." "That's what makes it exciting," Rowan says brightly. "The hat sees something in you that you might not see yourself." The compartment door slides open again, but this time nobody knocks. A boy stands in the doorway, tall for his age with messy brown hair that sticks up in several directions and eyes that are scanning the compartment with quick, assessing intelligence. He's already changed into his robes, though they're askew, his tie crooked. "Anyone seen a toad?" he asks, voice carrying the particular kind of confidence that sounds almost like arrogance, but might just be nerves. "Someone's lost one," Trevor or something. Not my problem really, but he trails off, taking in the pile of sweets, the chocolate frog cards, the three of you watching him. Actually, never mind the toad. You lot look way less annoying than the crowd in the next compartment. Mind if I join? Without waiting for an answer, he's already pulling the door shut behind him and throwing himself into the seat next to Maple, who scoots over with a small squeak of surprise. "I'm Soren," he announces. Soren Ashcroft, first year, obviously. Muggle-born, which I know probably isn't relevant, but people seem to care about that sort of thing, so I'm just putting it out there. There's something almost aggressive about his friendliness, like he's daring you to reject him. You recognize it, that particular flavor of bravado that's really just fear wearing a mask. You've felt it yourself. "Help yourself to snacks," Maple offers, gesturing at the pile. And just like that, the tension breaks. Soren grins, reaches for a chocolate frog, and the compartment settles into easy conversation. He tells you he's read Hogwarts, a history 3 times, which would be impressive, except he then proceeds to get several facts confidently wrong. Rowan corrects him gently, and instead of being embarrassed, Soren just laughs. "Well, maybe I skimmed some parts," he admits. "The chapters about plumbing systems were kind of boring." "The plumbing is fascinating," Rowan insists. "Do you know how difficult it is to get running water in a medieval castle? The charms involved are incredibly complex." You all fall into an easy rhythm, passing sweets back and forth, trying the Birdie Bot's every flavor beans with varying degrees of success and disgust. You get vomit flavor on your second try and nearly spit it out the window, which makes everyone else dissolve into laughter. Maple gets grass, which she says isn't bad actually, quite fresh. Soren gets pepper and has to drink half Rowan's pumpkin juice to stop coughing. The chocolate frogs are better, though yours makes a break for it the moment you open the package, bouncing off the ceiling before Soren catches it midair with a grab that's more luck than skill. The card inside shows a wizard named Alberic Grunion, who invented the dung bomb, according to the text on the back. You tuck it carefully into your pocket, your first chocolate frog card, a small piece of this new world that's yours now. The conversation turns to what houses you might be sorted into. Soren declares he'd be happy with anything except Hufflepuff, which makes Maple throw a licorice wand at him. "What's wrong with Hufflepuff?" she demands, but she's smiling. "Nothing," Soren says quickly. "I just feel like I'm more of a Gryffindor type, you know? Brave, daring, all that. Plus, their common room is in a tower, and you get better views from towers." "That's not really how the sorting works," Rowan says mildly. "The hat decides based on your values, not what common room you'd prefer." Outside the window, the landscape continues to change. The hills are growing steeper, more rugged. You catch glimpses of mountains in the distance, their peaks still touched with snow, even though it's September. The train is heading north, far north, and the world outside looks wilder with every passing mile, less tamed, more mysterious. Somewhere around what must be midday, though you've lost track of time entirely, a witch pushing a trolley stops at your compartment. "Anything from the trolley, dears?" she asks in a warm, grandmotherly voice. You've still got some muggle money in your pocket, but Rowan leans over and whispers that it needs to be wizard money, and since you haven't been to Gringotts yet, you're about to say no when Maple presses several silver coins into your hand. "Go on," she insists when you try to protest. "Mum gave me way too much. Get something good." So you buy chocolate frogs, and Rowan gets pumpkin pasties, and Soren gets something called a blood-flavored lollipop that he immediately regrets. The afternoon stretches on in a haze of sugar and conversation and the hypnotic rhythm of the train. At some point, you all must have dozed off because you wake with your cheek pressed to the cool window glass, drool at the corner of your mouth, and Maple's head on your shoulder. The light outside has changed, gone golden and slanting, and when you blink your eyes open fully, your breath catches. The train is running alongside a lake now, vast and dark and glittering in the late afternoon sun. And there, reflected in its mirror-smooth surface, rising from what must be the far shore, is the castle. Hogwarts. It's bigger than you imagined, impossibly vast, all towers and turrets and walls that must be stories thick. There are lights glowing in windows like scattered stars, warm against the darkening stone. Flags fly from the highest towers, snapping in a wind you can't feel from inside the train. The castle seems to grow from the very rock of the mountain it sits upon, organic and eternal, as though it's been there since the earth first cooled and will remain long after everything else has crumbled to dust. Oh, Maple breathes beside you, awake now too. Oh, blimey. The others are pressing to the window, all of you crowding together to see. Even Soren, who's been confident and loud all day, has gone completely silent. There are no words big enough for what you're looking at. No words adequate to describe the feeling blooming in your chest. Part awe, part terror, part coming home. We live there now, Rowan whispers, adjusting their glasses. That's our school. That's our home. The train begins to slow, and the announcement comes garbled through some kind of magical speaker system that you need to change into your robes. There's suddenly frantic activity, all of you pulling robes from trunks, arguing about who should leave the compartment while everyone else changes. In the end, Soren and Rowan step out into the corridor, and you and Maple change quickly, fumbling with unfamiliar fastenings, helping each other with ties and the proper way to drape the robes. When the boys come back in, already changed, Rowan's robes are perfectly neat, but Soren's are somehow even more rumpled than before. You all check each other, smoothing collars, straightening ties, trying to look presentable. You catch a glimpse of yourself in the window's reflection, black robes making you look older, more serious, and for a moment you barely recognize yourself. The train is crawling now, slowing to a stop. Outside, you can see a small station, gas lamps flickering to life in the gathering dusk, a platform that's barely more than packed earth. The castle is hidden from this angle, behind trees and a rising slope of land, but you know it's there, waiting. Fur's years over here. The voice is booming, loud enough to carry over the general chaos of hundreds of students disembarking. You grab your things, make sure Pepper's cage is secure, and follow the others out into the corridor that's now packed with students, all trying to move in the same direction. The platform is chaos. The air is immediately colder here, crisp and sharp with the scent of pine and water, and when you breathe in deeply, it fills your lungs with something that tastes wild and clean. There are students everywhere, older years heading toward carriages that line a dirt road, but the first years are being corralled by the voice you heard. Fur's years, this way, come on, don't be shy. The source of the voice is a woman so tall, she makes even the tallest students look small. She's got a bushy beard that would make a Viking envious, wild hair pulled back in a thick braid, and she's wearing robes that are covered in what appears to be mud and bits of straw. But her face is kind, creased with smile lines, and her eyes are warm as she waves the first years over. "I'm Professor Hagstone," she calls as you all cluster around her. "I'll be taking Ye across the lake. 4 to a boat now. Don't push. Plenty of boats for everyone." The lake. You're going to cross the lake. At night. In small boats. Your stomach does a nervous flip as you follow Professor Hagstone down a steep, narrow path through the trees. Roots cross the path, rocks jut up at odd angles, and more than once you nearly trip, saved only by Rowan's steadying hand on your elbow. And then the trees break open, and you're standing on a pebbly shore, and the lake spreads before you like a sheet of black glass, and the boats, dozens of them, are waiting at the water's edge. They're small, wooden, old-looking, and they bob gently on the water with no visible means of propulsion. 4 to a boat, Professor Hagstone repeats. "Go on then, in ye get." You climb into a boat with Rowan, Maple, and Soren, the whole thing rocking alarmingly under your weight. The seats are damp, and the boat smells like old wood and lake water. You grip the edge, knuckles white, very aware of how thin the wood seems between you and the dark water. When all the first years are settled, Professor Hagstone climbs into a boat by herself, which sits significantly lower in the water under her weight. "Forward," she calls, and as one, all the boats begin to move. There's no sound except the gentle lap of water against the hulls and the occasional nervous whisper. The boats glide across the lake's surface, smooth as if they're on ice, leaving barely a ripple behind. The water is dark, so dark you can't see more than a few inches below the surface, and your mind unhelpfully supplies all sorts of thoughts about what might be living down there in the depths. "Giant squid lives in this lake," Soren whispers, because apparently his mind is going to the same place. Read about it. Supposed to be friendly, but it's still a giant squid. As if summoned by his words, something surfaces about 20 feet to your left. A tentacle, thick as a tree trunk and glossy in the moonlight, breaks the water with barely a splash, waves in the air for a moment like it's saying hello, then slides back beneath the surface. A girl in the next boat shrieks, and nervous laughter ripples through the group. "She's harmless," Professor Hagstone calls back. "Just curious is all." The castle is growing as you cross the lake, rising taller and taller until it fills your entire field of vision. From the water, it's even more impressive, even more impossible. The walls rise directly from the cliff edge, sheer and tall, dotted with narrow windows that glow from within. Towers stretch toward the stars, their peaks lost in shadow. It looks like something from a fairy tale, from a dream, and you have to remind yourself that this is real. This is happening. This is your life now. "Heads down," Professor Hagstone calls as the boats approach a curtain of ivy that hangs down over the cliff face. You duck, and the boats glide through into a tunnel, dark and echoing with the sound of water dripping from stone. The tunnel winds upward, and then suddenly you're gliding into an underground harbor, the boats bumping gently against a stone dock. Everyone climbs out on shaking legs, helping each other up onto the slippery stone. Your robes are damp from the spray, and you're shivering, though you're not sure if it's from cold or nerves. Professor Hagstone does a quick head count, nods with satisfaction, then leads the group up a flight of stone steps that seem to go on forever. At the top, a massive wooden door, old and iron-banded, and looking like it could withstand a siege. Professor Hagstone knocks 3 times, the sound echoing in the small stone chamber, and the door swings open. The entrance hall beyond is breathtaking. The ceiling is so high, it disappears into shadow, and flaming torches line the stone walls, casting dancing light across flagstones that are worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. A marble staircase rises at the far end, splitting into two, each branch leading to parts of the castle you can only imagine. Suits of armor stand at attention along the walls, and you could swear one of them nods at you as you pass. A woman is waiting at the base of the stairs. She's older, with silver hair pulled into a tight bun, half-moon spectacles perched on her nose, and robes of deep tartan that rustle as she moves. Her expression is stern, her eyes sharp, the kind of person who notices everything. "The fur's years, Professor Wimbley," Hagstone says with a respectful nod. "Thank you, Professor Hagstone." Wimbley's voice is crisp, no nonsense. She looks over the assembled first years with an expression that makes you want to stand up straighter. "I am Professor Wimbley, Deputy Headmistress and Transfiguration Professor. In a moment, you will pass through these doors and join your classmates. But before you take your seats, you will be sorted into your houses." She goes on to explain the house system, how you'll live with your house, attend classes with them, how your achievements will earn house points, and your rule breaking will lose them. Her words wash over you in a wave of nerves. The sorting. It's about to happen. The moment that will define your next 7 years. The group of first years huddles together in the entrance hall, and the nervousness is palpable. Someone near the back is crying quietly. Soren is making jokes under his breath, but his voice is pitched too high. Maple is gripping your hand hard enough to hurt. Rowan is adjusting their glasses over and over, muttering facts about the sorting hat under their breath. A ghost drifts through the wall, translucent and glowing faintly, and several people scream. The ghost, a man in old-fashioned robes, looks rather pleased with the reaction and waves cheerfully before drifting back through the wall. The doors at the end of the hall swing open, and Professor Wimbley gestures. "Follow me." The Great Hall is beyond anything you could have imagined. It's vast, so large that your school gym back home could fit inside it several times over. The ceiling is enchanted to look like the sky outside, night dark now and scattered with stars, clouds drifting past as though there's no roof at all. Thousands of candles float in midair, their flames steady despite having no visible support, casting golden light across 4 long tables that stretch the length of the hall. Each table is packed with students in different colored robes, hundreds of faces turning to watch as you enter. At the far end of the hall, raised on a dais, is the staff table where the professors sit. And there, in the center of the hall, positioned on a small stool, sits a hat. It's patched and frayed, ancient-looking, the kind of thing that should be in a museum or maybe a rubbish bin. But you know what it is: the sorting hat. The object that's about to decide your fate. Your legs feel like they're made of jelly as you walk down the aisle between the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw tables. Every eye in the hall is on your group, and you can hear whispers, comments, speculation. You keep your eyes forward, focused on that hat, trying not to trip over your own feet. Professor Wimbley positions herself beside the stool, producing a long roll of parchment from her robes. The hat sits there, wrinkled and silent, and you find yourself staring at it, wondering how exactly this is supposed to work. Then, without warning, a rip near the brim opens like a mouth, and the hat begins to sing. The song is long and rambling, the hat's voice surprisingly melodious for an object that looks like it's been through several wars. It sings about the 4 founders, about bravery and cunning and loyalty and wit, about how each house has its strengths and how the hat will see into your mind and place you where you belong. The melody winds through the hall, and by the end, some students are swaying slightly, caught up in it. When the hat finishes, the hall erupts in applause, and the hat takes a small bow, which looks absurd, but somehow also dignified. Professor Wimbley unfurls her scroll. When I call your name, you will come forward, sit on the stool, and place the hat on your head. Ashworth, Timothy. A small boy with pale blonde hair practically runs to the stool, like he wants to get it over with as quickly as possible. The hat is lowered onto his head, far too large, swallowing him to the shoulders. There's a moment of silence, then the rip opens again and shouts, "Hufflepuff!" The table on the right explodes with cheers and applause. Timothy stumbles off the stool, looking dazed but pleased, and makes his way to the Hufflepuff table where hands reach out to clap him on the back. The sorting continues. Name after name is called. Students walk forward on trembling legs, sit beneath the hat, and are sorted. Some sortings are quick, the hat barely touching their heads before shouting a house. Others take longer, the hat deliberating, muttering to itself in a way that makes everyone lean forward to try to hear. Blackwood, Rowan! Your friend walks to the stool with determined steps, chin up despite the nervousness you can see in the set of their shoulders. The hat descends, touches Rowan's head, and almost immediately shouts, "Ravenclaw!" Rowan's face breaks into a brilliant smile as they walk to the Ravenclaw table, where blue and bronze robes are waving welcome. They glance back at you and Maple, giving a small wave before being absorbed into the crowd of their new housemates. More names, more sortings. Your heart is pounding so hard you can hear it in your ears, a steady thunder that drowns out almost everything else. Fernsby, Maple. Maple squeezes your hand once, hard, then lets go and walks to the stool. Her hands are shaking as she sits down, and when the hat descends over her curly hair, you can see her lips moving, like she's talking to it. The hat takes its time, maybe 20 seconds that feel like 20 years before finally calling out, "Hufflepuff!" Maple's whole face lights up with relief and joy. She practically runs to the Hufflepuff table, where yellow and black robes welcome her with enthusiastic hugs. The alphabet continues its relentless march. More students sorted, more names checked off the list. You're watching but not really seeing, too focused on your own rising panic. What if the hat can't decide? What if you don't fit anywhere? What if you're sent home, a mistake, not magical enough after all? Ashcroft, Soren. Soren walks up with his chest puffed out, all bravado, but you can see the fear underneath. The hat is placed on his head, and this time, something strange happens. The hat appears to be arguing with him, actually arguing, the brim moving as though in heated debate. You can't hear what's being said, but Soren's face goes through a series of expressions, stubborn, defensive, pleading. Finally, after what must be a full minute, the hat seems to give in, shouting, "Gryffindor!" Soren practically swaggers to the Gryffindor table, red and gold robes cheering, and you can't help but smile despite your nerves. More names. The list is shrinking. You're getting closer to your turn, and your mouth has gone completely dry. Your hands are clammy. You wipe them on your robes, which probably looks terrible, but you can't bring yourself to care. Then you hear it, your name. Professor Wimbley is calling your name, her crisp voice carrying across the now quiet hall. Your legs move without conscious thought, carrying you forward, even though every instinct is screaming to run in the opposite direction. The walk to the stool feels endless and far too short all at once. You're aware of every eye in the hall watching you, hundreds of students and professors all staring, waiting. You sit on the stool, and it's wobbly, worn smooth by countless students before you. Professor Wimbley's face is stern but not unkind as she lifts the hat, and for a moment you see the inside, stained and patched, before it descends over your head, and everything goes dark. The hat is much too large, falling over your eyes, muffling the sounds of the hall. For a moment, there's nothing, just darkness and the smell of old fabric. And then a voice speaks directly into your mind, warm and amused, and feeling almost alive. The hat says, and you can feel it somehow, feel it rifling through your thoughts and memories like pages in a book. Interesting, very interesting indeed. You sit very still, barely breathing, as the hat examines you. It feels strange, but not invasive, more like someone getting to know you very quickly, seeing past all the walls and pretense to who you really are underneath. Brave, the hat muses. Yes, definitely brave. You ran at that barrier despite your fear, stood up to the unknown, but not foolhardy. No, there's caution there too, wisdom in knowing when to be afraid. Your heart hammers. You don't know what you're supposed to do. Are you meant to think at it? Argue? You've lost your wand, and you're terrified of looking stupid. Is that brave? Curious, the hat continues, ignoring your spiraling thoughts. Curious in abundance, actually. Want to know everything, understand everything. That's very Ravenclaw. Could see you in those blue robes, surrounded by books. But Rowan's in Ravenclaw, and while you like them, you don't know if that's where you belong. But there's something else here too, loyalty. A deep, fierce loyalty to the people you care about. Protective. That's Hufflepuff, through and through. You think of your family, of Quinn tugging your sleeve, and your mum's tears, and your dad's cracking voice. You think of the promises you made. But underneath it all, the hat says, and its voice has gone thoughtful, underneath all of that, there's something more fundamental. You want to belong. You want a place where you fit, where you're valued for who you are, and you know what? That desire, that driving need to find your place and prove yourself worthy of it, that's not afraid to face challenges to earn that belonging. That's very Gryffindor. You hadn't thought of it that way, hadn't realized that's what you were feeling, that aching need to find where you fit in this strange new world. Yes, the hat says, satisfied. Yes, I see it now. You'll need courage for what's ahead, need that brave heart. You'll find your place, young one. You'll find it in the hat's mouth, which you can feel against your forehead through the fabric, opens wide, and its voice booms out across the great hall for everyone to hear. Gryffindor! The sound is deafening. The Gryffindor table erupts in cheers and applause, a wall of noise that washes over you as Professor Wimbley lifts the hat from your head. Your legs are shaking as you stand, barely able to hold your weight, but somehow you make it to the Gryffindor table, where hands are reaching out, patting your back, welcoming you. Soren is grinning widely, making space on the bench beside him. A girl with Fasham, a prefect badge pinned to her robes, long black hair, and a warm smile, leans across to welcome you. I'm Alara, she says over the noise. 5th year prefect, welcome to Gryffindor. You collapse onto the bench, still trembling, still trying to process what just happened. Gryffindor. You're in Gryffindor. You have a house, a place, somewhere you belong. The sorting continues, but you barely register it. You're too busy taking it all in, looking around at your new housemates, at the red and gold banners hanging from the ceiling, at the general warmth and energy of the table. Across the hall, you can see Rowan at the Ravenclaw table, catching your eye and giving you a thumbs up. Maple is doing the same from Hufflepuff, beaming. The last student is sorted into Slytherin, and Professor Wimbley rolls up her scroll and carries the stool and hat away. An elderly man stands at the center of the staff table, his robes deep purple and covered in silver stars. The headmaster. He spreads his arms wide, his smile visible even from this distance. "Welcome," he says, his voice magically amplified to carry through the hall. "Welcome to another year at Hogwarts, and to our first years, welcome for the very first time. I have only a few words to say before we begin our feast. Nitwit, blubber, oddment, tweak, thank you." He sits back down, and you exchange confused glances with Soren, who shrugs. But before you can wonder too much about the headmaster's sanity, something extraordinary happens. The golden plates in front of you, which have been empty since you sat down, suddenly fill with food. Not gradually, not piece by piece, but all at once, appearing out of thin air in abundance that makes your eyes widen. Roast chicken, golden and steaming, mountains of roasted potatoes, vegetables glazed with butter, Yorkshire puddings, tall and perfect, pies with crusts that glisten, bowls of gravy and boats of sauce. The smell is overwhelming, rich and savory, and making your mouth water instantly. You realize you're starving, haven't eaten anything substantial since the pumpkin pasty on the train, and that was hours ago. You pile food onto your plate, not even sure what half of it is, just grabbing things that look good. The roast chicken is perfectly cooked, falling off the bone. The potatoes are crispy on the outside and fluffy within. Everything tastes incredible, or maybe you're just so hungry that anything would taste like the best meal of your life. Around you, everyone is eating and talking, the hall filling with the noise of hundreds of conversations. Older students are sharing stories about their summers. First years are comparing their sorting experiences. Ghosts are drifting between tables, greeting students they recognize. A ghost materializes directly through your plate, which makes you jump so hard you nearly drop your fork. He's translucent, glowing faintly, dressed in old-fashioned robes and a rough collar. "So sorry," he says cheerfully. "Didn't mean to startle you. I'm Sir Nicholas, though students usually call me Nearly Headless Nick, much to my chagrin." "Why nearly headless?" you ask, before you can stop yourself. He looks pleased by the question. "Like so," he says, and grabs his head by the ears, tilting it to one side. His head flops over, hanging by what looks like a thin bit of flesh and sinew, only barely still attached to his neck. Several first years scream. You can't look away, horrified and fascinated in equal measure. 45 blows with a blunt axe, Nick explains proudly, straightening his head back up. Never quite managed to sever it completely. Bit of a sore point, actually. Nearly headless, as if it's some kind of failure. He drifts away to terrify other first years, and you turn back to your food with a slightly queasy stomach. Magic is wonderful, but it's also deeply, deeply weird. Soren is across from you, his plate piled comically high, eating like he's in a competition. Between mouthfuls, he's telling anyone who will listen about his sorting, how the hat tried to put him in Ravenclaw, but he insisted on Gryffindor. You're not sure that's entirely how it happened, based on what you saw, but you let him have his story. An older student, a 7th year with kind eyes, leans over. "First day?" she asks, which is obvious, but her tone is warm. Don't worry, you'll get used to it all. The castle, the ghosts, the moving staircases. Just takes time. Moving staircases? You repeat, wondering what else you haven't been warned about. She grins. Oh yeah, they change. You'll figure it out. Just don't try to take the same route twice, or you'll end up somewhere completely different. That's concerning. But before you can ask more questions, the food on the plates vanishes, just as suddenly as it appeared, and is replaced by desserts. Every kind of dessert imaginable. Treacle tart, golden and glistening. Ice cream in more flavors than you knew existed. Apple pies, cherry pies, chocolate cake, Victoria sponge. Puddings and trifles and pastries dusted with sugar. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach, but you try anyway, sampling a bit of everything within reach. The treacle tart is sweet and sticky and perfect. The ice cream is cold and creamy and tastes like actual magic. You're stuffed, uncomfortably full, but you keep eating anyway because how can you stop when everything is so good? You're reaching for a napkin, laughing at something Soren just said about the ghost, when suddenly your stomach drops. Your hand freezes halfway to the napkin. Your wand. Your wand. Where's your wand? You check your pockets, both of them, patting frantically. Not there. You check again, more carefully, hoping you just missed it. Still not there. Under the table, you crane your neck, searching the floor. Nothing but shoes and the hem of robes. Your mind races backward, retracing your steps. You had it on the train. You showed it to Soren when you were all comparing. Then the station, then the boats, then the bathroom. You went to the bathroom while everyone was gathering for the sorting, a small bathroom near the entrance hall, to splash water on your face and calm your nerves. You left it there, on the windowsill. You set it down to wash your hands and then forgot it, distracted by Professor Wimbley calling everyone to line up. Your wand, the first magical thing that ever chose you, the holly and phoenix feather that Ollivander said was special, is sitting in a bathroom somewhere in this massive castle while you're here eating dessert like nothing is wrong. The panic that floods through you is cold and sharp. You should say something, tell a prefect, tell Professor Wimbley, ask for help. But the thought of admitting, on your very first day, that you've already lost your wand is mortifying. Everyone will think you're careless, irresponsible, not fit to be here. No, you'll get it yourself. After everyone goes to bed, you'll sneak back down, find the bathroom, get your wand. Simple, easy. It's probably still exactly where you left it. You force yourself to take a breath, to paste a smile on your face and rejoin the conversation. Nobody seems to have noticed your moment of panic. The desserts begin to vanish, plates returning to their gleaming empty state, and the headmaster stands once more. He makes a few announcements, rules about the forest being forbidden, a reminder about no magic in the corridors, something about a list posted outside the caretaker's office. You're barely listening, too focused on your plan. Get through this, get to the dormitory, wait for everyone to sleep, sneak out. And now, off to bed with you. First years, follow your prefects. You'll need your rest for classes tomorrow. The benches scrape against stone as hundreds of students stand at once. The noise is overwhelming, echoing off the high ceiling. Ilara is waving at the first years, gathering them like ducklings. Come on, Gryffindors, this way. You follow with the others, out of the great hall, into the entrance hall, then up the marble staircase. The castle is even more confusing at night. Torches casting shifting shadows, portraits whispering as you pass. The staircases do move, you discover, one lurching beneath your feet to connect to a different landing while you're halfway up it. Soren yelps, grabbing the banister, and nervous laughter ripples through the group. You'll get used to it, Ilara calls back, leading you higher and higher. Past suits of armor that definitely move when you're not looking directly at them. Past portraits whose subjects are visiting each other's frames, stepping from painting to painting. Past corridors that branch off into darkness, full of mystery and possibility, and probably ways to get very lost. Finally, Ilara stops in front of a portrait of a very large woman in a pink silk dress. The woman in the painting looks imperious, her chin lifted, examining the group of first years with something like disdain. "This is the fat lady," Ilara explains. "She guards the entrance to Gryffindor Tower. You'll need the password to get in. This week's password is Fortuna Major." "Fortuna Major," the fat lady repeats in a high, somewhat haughty voice. The portrait swings forward like a door, revealing a round opening in the stone wall, a passage beyond. You climb through, and the common room that opens up before you is everything warm and welcoming you could hope for. It's circular, with squashy armchairs and sofas upholstered in deep red, a fireplace crackling with a fire that fills the room with dancing light and warmth. The walls are covered in tapestries, showing lions and Gryffindor victories, and windows look out over the dark grounds. There's a notice board covered in flyers and announcements, tables scattered with abandoned homework and chess sets, bookcases stuffed with books. "Boys' dormitory is up the stairs to the left," Ilara says, pointing. "Girls to the right. Your things have already been brought up. Get some sleep. You'll need it." You climb the spiral staircase with Soren and the other first-year boys, legs aching from the long day. The dormitory is small and circular, with 5 four-poster beds draped in deep red velvet curtains. Your trunk is at the foot of one bed, Pepper's cage beside it, and she hoots softly when she sees you, a sound of greeting and mild reproach for all the jostling of the day. The other boys are already claiming beds, changing into pajamas, exclaiming over the view from the windows that shows the dark grounds and the forbidden forest beyond. You change quickly, pulling on the soft cotton pajamas that your mum packed, and climb into bed. The mattress is comfortable, the sheets crisp and clean, the pillows soft. The bed curtains can be drawn for privacy, enclosing you in a small cocoon of red velvet and warmth. This should be perfect. This should be the best moment, the end of a perfect first day. But all you can think about is your wand, sitting forgotten in that bathroom, waiting for someone to find it or steal it or break it. You lie there in the dark, listening to the sounds of the dormitory settling. Soren's soft snoring from the bed next to yours, someone muttering in their sleep. The distant hoot of an owl from the tower above, the crackle and pop of the common room fire drifting up the stairs. You wait, counting your breaths until you're sure everyone is deeply asleep. Then, moving as quietly as possible, you slip out of bed. Your robe is draped over your trunk, and you pull it on over your pajamas, shoving your feet into your slippers. The stone floor is cold even through the thin soles. The spiral staircase creaks on the 3rd step, and you freeze, heart pounding, waiting for someone to wake up and demand to know where you're going. But there's nothing, just the continued soft sounds of sleeping boys, and you keep moving. The common room is nearly empty, just the dying embers of the fire casting a faint orange glow. The portraits on the walls are sleeping, some of them snoring tiny painted snores. You tiptoe to the portrait hole, which is closed. "Sneaking out already?" the fat lady says, making you jump. She's awake, apparently, looking down at you with raised, painted eyebrows. "Bold move, fresh meat. Where's your hall pass?" I don't have one," you whisper. "Please, I just need to get something I left. I'll be right back." She sighs, long suffering. They never listen. "Fine, but when you get caught by Wickham, don't come crying to me." The portrait swings open. The corridor outside is dark and cold, lit only by torches placed every 20 feet or so, casting more shadow than light. The temperature drops the moment you step out of the portrait hole, your breath misting in the air. The castle at night is a different beast than during the day. All the warmth and welcome gone, replaced by something older, more mysterious, slightly threatening. You're not entirely sure of the way back to the entrance hall. Everything looks different in the dark, the shadows deeper, the corridors more twisted. You think you remember going down this staircase, past that portrait of a witch stirring a cauldron, but now that you're here, you're not certain. You start walking, trying to move quietly, though your slippers shuffle against the stone. The portraits are mostly sleeping, but some watch you pass with curious painted eyes. One, an old wizard with a long silver beard, opens his mouth like he's about to say something, but you press a finger to your lips in a pleading gesture, and he closes it again, looking amused. A staircase moves just as you're about to step onto it, swinging away to connect somewhere else entirely. You wait, frustrated, until it swings back, then hurry across before it can change its mind. You're turned around now, you realize. This corridor doesn't look familiar. The portraits here are all of stern-looking witches in pointed hats, and they're definitely awake, whispering to each other and looking at you with disapproval. One of them says, quite clearly, "Another lost first year. They get more careless every year." Your cheeks burn with embarrassment, but you keep moving, hoping you'll recognize something. The castle is impossibly large, full of corridors that twist and turn and double back on themselves. How does anyone ever learn their way around? That's when you hear it. Footsteps, slow, shuffling footsteps, and the sound of something dragging, coming closer. You freeze, looking around frantically for somewhere to hide. There's a suit of armor a few feet away, and you press yourself into the shadows behind it, holding your breath. The metal is cold against your back, and you can feel your heart hammering so hard you're sure whoever's coming will hear it. The footsteps grow louder. A man shuffles into view, hunched and scowling, holding a lantern in one hand and a mop in the other. He's muttering to himself, something about students and rules and the good old days when they knew discipline. Behind him, padding silently, is an orange cat with one torn ear and eyes that glow in the lamplight. The caretaker, it must be, Mr. Wickham, and his cat, Barnaby. You've heard older students mention them during dinner, always with a mixture of fear and exasperation. The cat stops, directly in front of where you're hiding. Its head swivels, those glowing eyes fixing on the suit of armor, on you hiding behind it. You hold your breath. Don't move. Don't even blink. "What is it, Barnaby?" Wickham's voice is gravelly, suspicious. He stops shuffling, raises his lantern, peering into the shadows. "Someone there? Students out of bed?" The cat continues to stare. You can see its tail swishing, back and forth, back and forth. Your lungs are burning, screaming for air, but you don't dare breathe. Then, after what feels like an eternity, the cat turns away, flicks its tail once in dismissal, and pads after Wickham, who's already moving on, muttering about his imagination and too many years in this drafty castle. You wait until the footsteps fade completely, until you can't hear them at all, before you finally let yourself breathe. Your hands are shaking. That was too close. Way too close. But you can't go back now, not without your wand. You push away from the armor and keep moving, more carefully now, listening for any sound of footsteps or voices. You take a turn, then another, trying to work your way back to somewhere you recognize. The corridors seem endless, a maze of stone and shadow. You're about to give up, to admit defeat and try to find your way back to Gryffindor Tower, when you see a soft glow ahead. A ghost is drifting toward you, translucent and luminous. As she gets closer, you can make out details. A young woman in Ravenclaw robes, her hair floating around her head as though she's underwater. She has a kind face, curious eyes, and she smiles when she sees you. "Lost, dear?" Her voice echoes slightly, ethereal. You look absolutely terrified. Relief floods through you. "I'm looking for the bathroom near the entrance hall," you say, trying to keep your voice steady. "I left something there, and I need to get it back." She tilts her head, considering. First day and already sneaking about? How wonderfully brave and foolish. I remember my first night here, though that was in 1890-something. Got completely turned around trying to find the library. Ended up in the trophy room, if you can believe it. "Could you..." You hesitate, not wanting to be rude. "Could you maybe show me the way?" Her smile widens. "Of course. Follow me, dear. Try to keep up. I tend to drift faster than I realize." She floats off down the corridor, and you hurry after her, practically jogging to keep pace. She chats as she goes, pointing out landmarks, telling you stories about the castle and the students she's seen come and go. Her voice is soothing, her presence comforting, and some of your panic eases. She leads you down a staircase, through a portrait-lined corridor, past a suit of armor that she greets by name, and finally to a familiar-looking passage. "There you are," she says, gesturing ahead. "Entrance hall is just there, and the bathroom you're looking for should be right around that corner." "Thank you," you say, meaning it with every fiber of your being. "Thank you so much." "You're quite welcome. Do try not to get caught on your way back. And next time, perhaps remember your belongings before leaving them scattered about." She winks, then floats upward, through the ceiling, and is gone. The bathroom is exactly where she said. A small door that you almost overlooked earlier. You push it open, and it creaks loudly in the silence, making you wince. Inside, it's dark, no torches lit, and you fumble for your wand before remembering that's the whole problem. "Lumos," you whisper, then realize how stupid that is. You don't have your wand. That's why you're here. But wait, the spell feels familiar on your tongue, like something you should know how to do. You hold up your hand, fingers spread, and whisper it again. "Lumos." Nothing happens. Of course nothing happens. You need a wand. Magic doesn't work without one. Not for you, not yet. You feel your way through the darkness, hands outstretched, until your fingers touch cool marble. The sink. You move along it toward where you remember the window being. And there, on the windowsill exactly where you left it, is your wand. The relief is so intense it makes you dizzy. You grab it, and the moment your fingers close around the familiar wood, warmth spreads through your hand, up your arm, settling in your chest like coming home. Your wand. Safe. Not stolen. Not broken. Still yours. "Lumos," you whisper again, and this time The tip of your wand glows with soft white light, illuminating the bathroom in gentle radiance. Your first spell at Hogwarts. Small and simple and absolutely perfect. You should leave now, should get back before your luck runs out. But you take a moment just to stand there, wand in hand, marveling at the light it casts. This is real. Magic is real. You can do this. Then you hear voices in the corridor outside, and panic slams back into you. You extinguish the light with a thought, plunging the bathroom back into darkness, and press yourself against the wall, waiting. The voices pass by, fade away, and you count to 30 before cracking the door open and peering out. The coast looks clear. You slip out, pulling the door shut as quietly as possible, and start back the way you came, or at least the way you hope you came. But nothing looks right. You must have taken a wrong turn, because you end up in a corridor you definitely don't recognize. The walls here are lined with glass cases full of trophies and awards, silver gleaming in the faint light. A trophy room. You've wandered into the trophy room, the ghost, mentioned. You walk along the cases, reading plaques by your wand light. Awards for Quidditch, for academic excellence, for special services to the school. Names and dates going back centuries. It's fascinating, but this isn't helping you get back to Gryffindor Tower. Footsteps again. Closer this time, coming faster. You spin around, extinguishing your wand, looking for somewhere to hide, but the trophy room is too open, too exposed. A woman rounds the corner, and you freeze like a deer in headlights. She's dressed in crisp white robes, carrying a basket of what looks like medical supplies, her hair cut short and practical. Her eyes narrow when she sees you. "And what exactly are you doing out of bed?" Her voice is stern, no nonsense, the voice of someone who has dealt with rule-breaking students for years. You open your mouth, then close it, having no good answer. You're caught, completely, utterly caught. "Well," she prompts, crossing her arms, "I'm waiting." The words tumble out in a rush. "I forgot my wand in the bathroom, after the sorting, and I couldn't just leave it there because it's my wand, the first magic thing that ever chose me. And Ollivander said it was special, and I was too embarrassed to tell anyone, so I thought I'd just sneak down and get it and nobody would have to know. But then I got lost, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know I'm not supposed to be out of bed, and I'll accept whatever detention or punishment you think is appropriate. Just please don't tell everyone I lost my wand on my first day." You run out of breath, chest heaving, waiting for her response. Her stern expression softens slightly. "Muggle-born?" she asks, and when you nod miserably, she sighs. "Let me see your wand." You hold it out, and she examines it briefly, testing its weight, checking for damage. "Holly and phoenix feather," she muses. "A loyal wood. No wonder you couldn't stand the thought of losing it." She hands it back. "I'm Madam Clearwater, the school healer. And while I appreciate your determination, sneaking around the castle at night is dangerous, especially for a first year who doesn't know the layout yet." "I know," you whisper. "I'm sorry." "The castle rearranges itself," she continues, her voice gentler now. "Staircases move, corridors shift. It likes to keep things interesting. The best advice I can give you is to mark distinctive portraits in your mind, count your turns, and always remember which staircases you took. It'll take weeks before you stop getting lost, and that's perfectly normal." She starts walking, gesturing for you to follow. "Come on then, I'll escort you back to Gryffindor Tower. Can't have you wandering around all night." Relief makes your knees weak. You follow her through the castle, and she points out landmarks as you go. Helpful things like the portrait of the witch with the dragon, the suit of armor that's missing its left gauntlet, the tapestry showing a troll in a tutu attempting ballet. I got lost my first night too, she admits as you climb another moving staircase. Ended up in the astronomy tower somehow. Scared myself half to death thinking I'd have to sleep up there. A prefect found me crying at 3 a.m. The confession makes you feel slightly better, knowing even staff members struggled once. You're not uniquely hopeless, just new. She leads you through corridors that are becoming vaguely familiar now, up staircases you think you remember, until finally you're standing in front of the fat lady's portrait. The fat lady sniffs disapprovingly. Out of bed and caught, just as I predicted. Fortuna Major, Madame Clearwater says, ignoring her commentary. The portrait swings open, revealing the passage to the common room. Before you climb through, Madame Clearwater puts a hand on your shoulder. I'll let this slide tonight, she says quietly. First day, special circumstances, and you did show initiative in trying to solve your problem, even if your methods were questionable. But next time you lose something, you come to a professor or prefect. That's what we're here for. Understood? Yes, ma'am, you say, grateful beyond words. Thank you, really, thank you. She smiles, and it transforms her stern face completely. Welcome to Hogwarts, dear. Try to stay out of trouble, though something tells me that might be challenging for you. You climb through the portrait hole into the common room, which is exactly as you left it, embers glowing softly in the fireplace. The portraits are still sleeping, and you creep as quietly as possible up the spiral staircase to the dormitory. The room is dark and peaceful, full of the soft sounds of sleep. You slip back into bed, pulling the covers up to your chin, and place your wand carefully, reverently, on the bedside table where you can see it. Your heart is still racing from the adventure, from the close calls and the fear and the relief. But underneath it all, there's something else. Pride, maybe. You had a problem and you solved it. You got lost and you found your way with help. You broke the rules on your very first night and somehow got away with it. Tomorrow there will be classes, actual magic lessons where you'll learn spells and potions and all the things you've been dreaming about since your letter arrived. Tomorrow you'll navigate the castle in daylight, find the Great Hall for breakfast, figure out where your classrooms are. Tomorrow your real education begins. But tonight, lying in this comfortable bed in this tower room, listening to your dormmates sleep, your wand safely beside you, you let yourself feel what's been building all day. You go to Hogwarts. Actually, truly, impossibly, you go to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You made friends on the train, friends who are sleeping somewhere else in this vast castle, friends you'll see at breakfast and in classes and in the corridors. Rowan in their blue and bronze, Maple in her yellow and black, and Soren right here in Gryffindor Tower, snoring softly from the bed next to yours. You were sorted into Gryffindor, the house of the brave, the house where you're supposed to belong. The sorting hat saw something in you, something worth putting you here among the red and gold. You explored the castle at night, got lost and found again, had your first adventure, made mistakes and fixed them, talked to ghosts and avoided the caretaker, and got helped by someone kind when you needed it most. Your first day was chaotic and overwhelming and perfect in its imperfection. Nothing went entirely as expected, but everything worked out in the end, which feels somehow appropriate for the beginning of a magical education. Outside the window, you can see stars scattered across the dark sky, the same stars that shine over your home, over your family sleeping in their beds. You promise to write tomorrow, to tell them everything, and you will. You'll tell them about the train and the castle and the sorting, and even, maybe, about tonight's adventure. Once enough time has passed that it becomes funny rather than concerning. Quinn will be jealous of every detail. Your mum will cry reading your letter. Your dad will probably make jokes to hide how much he misses you. And you'll miss them too, terribly. But this is where you need to be. This is where you belong. From somewhere above, probably the owlery in the West Tower, you hear a distant hoot. It might be Pepper, settling in for the night among the other school owls. The sound is comforting, a reminder that even your owl has found her place here. Soren mutters something in his sleep, something that sounds like, "Put the toad back," and you have to stifle a giggle. Tomorrow you'll ask him what he's dreaming about, tease him about it over breakfast. The bed is warm, your blanket soft and heavy. The pillow cradles your head perfectly. Through the slightly open curtains of your four-poster, you can see the faint glow of moonlight coming through the tall windows, silvering everything it touches. Your eyes are getting heavy now, the adrenaline of the night finally fading, replaced by bone-deep exhaustion. You've been awake since dawn, and it's been the longest, most eventful day of your life. Your body is ready for sleep, ready to rest and recover so you can face whatever tomorrow brings. You let your eyes drift closed, just for a moment. The darkness behind your eyelids is soft and welcoming. You're aware of your breathing slowing, deepening, your heartbeat settling into a steady, calm rhythm. This is home now, you think drowsily. This castle, this tower, this bed, this is home. Tomorrow you'll learn magic. Tomorrow you'll figure out how to find your classrooms without getting lost. Tomorrow you'll start becoming the witch or wizard you're meant to be. Tomorrow holds infinite possibility, infinite adventure, infinite magic. But tonight, you just need to sleep. The last thing you're conscious of is the weight of your wand on the bedside table, close enough to touch, close enough to protect. Your wand, your connection to magic, safe and sound. And then you're drifting, floating on the edge of sleep. Thoughts becoming dreams, becoming nothing at all. The castle settles around you with creaks and sighs, the old stones breathing with centuries of magic. Portraits sleep in their frames. Ghosts drift through empty corridors. Suits of armor stand eternal watch. The giant squid turns lazy circles in the depths of the lake. The forbidden forest rustles with mysterious life. And in Gryffindor Tower, in a circular room with 4 other first years, you sleep the deep, dreamless sleep of someone who is exactly where they're supposed to be. Welcome to Hogwarts. Welcome home. The morning will come soon enough, bringing with it the chaos of your first day of classes, the confusion of trying to find the Transfiguration classroom, the wonder of your first successful spell, the disaster of your first potions lesson, the laughter of your friends, the stern corrections of your professors, the magic and mayhem that will become your daily life for the next 7 years. But that's all waiting in tomorrow in the bright morning light that will stream through these windows and wake you far too early after far too little sleep. For now, there's just this moment, this perfect, peaceful moment at the end of your first day. Just you, sleeping soundly in Gryffindor Tower, your wand beside you, your friends nearby, your future stretching out ahead, full of mystery and magic and possibility. The castle stands eternal on its mountain, windows glowing like stars, banners flying from its towers. Inside, hundreds of students sleep in their house dormitories, each one dreaming their own dreams, each one part of the living, breathing tapestry of Hogwarts. And you're one of them now, a Hogwarts student, a Gryffindor, a witch, a wizard, a person who can do magic, who belongs in this impossible, wonderful world. Your journey has only just begun, but what a beginning it's been. What stories you'll have to tell when you're older, when you're the one welcoming nervous first years and assuring them that everyone gets lost at first, that everyone makes mistakes, that the magic becomes no less wonderful, even when it becomes familiar. But those days are far away. Tonight, you're 11 years old, sleeping in a castle, your wand within reach, magic flowing through your veins, whether you're awake to feel it or not. Tonight is perfect. Tomorrow will be too, in its own chaotic way. And the day after that, and the day after that, each one bringing new lessons and new adventures and new memories to carry with you forever. This is your story now, your magical story, the story of your time at Hogwarts, starting with this first, imperfect, absolutely perfect day. The story of how you came home. Sleep well, young witch. Sleep well, young wizard. The magic will still be here when you wake. It will always be here, waiting for you, ready for you, calling you home. And there we are, my dear friends. Your first day at Hogwarts has come to a close, ending with you safe and sound in Gryffindor Tower, your wand recovered, your place in this magical world secured. I hope this story brought you comfort tonight, wrapped you in the warmth of magic and friendship and belonging. I hope it helped you drift into peaceful sleep, carried on the wings of imagination to a world where anything is possible, where you are special and valued and exactly where you're meant to be. Remember, no matter where you are in your own life, no matter what challenges you face, or how lost you might feel sometimes, there is always a place where you belong. There are always friends waiting to be made, adventures waiting to be had, magic waiting to be discovered, even if it doesn't look quite like the magic in these stories. Thank you for spending this evening with me, for letting me guide you through this journey. I hope your dreams tonight are full of castles and spells and the kind of wonder that makes everything feel new again. Until next time, sleep well, dream beautifully, and remember that you are capable of magic in your own unique way. Good night, my friends.